In the winter of 1988, beneath the neon skies of Tokyo, a quiet girl vanished. Her name was Junko Furuta, 17, bright, polite, loved by her friends, admired by teachers. She had dreams, college, career, maybe love, but instead, she met monsters. It began on November 25th. She was riding home from her part-time job. A boy approached, polite, almost timid. He said he was lost, and she paused, just for a moment. That was the last time the world saw her. As herself, she was taken, dragged into darkness, hidden inside a house that became a tomb. The house belonged to the parents of Hiroshi Miyano, a boy with Yakuza ties and a soul like rusted metal. He, along with 3 others, Shinji Minato, Joe Ogura, and Yasushi Watanabe, decided to keep her, not for ransom, not for revenge, but for fun. For 44 days, Junko Furuta endured a torment few minds dare imagine. They starved her, beat her, burned her, raped her, again, and again, and again. Her body broke, but her spirit did not. They crushed her fingers with weights, and still she tried to crawl. They poured lighter fluid on her legs and set her alight, and still she did not scream loud enough to please them. They laughed, played video games outside the room where she lay broken, mocked her cries, invited others to join. But the worst wound was the silence of those who knew and did nothing. Her captors told their parents, "She's a girlfriend," and the adults believed it, or pretended to. On January 4, 1989, the beatings became too much. Her body, mangled and starving, finally gave up. She died alone, naked, crushed in a corner, abandoned by mercy. They stuffed her corpse into a 55-gallon drum, filled it with concrete, and dumped it in a vacant lot like forgotten trash. But Junko Furuta was never forgotten. The lot grew cold, and beneath the soil, a whisper began to rise. Not of vengeance, not yet, but of truth. The days inside that house did not pass like time. They crawled. Each one was a fresh descent into hell. By day 21, Junko Furuta was no longer the girl who laughed with classmates. She was bruised, bleeding, barely breathing, but still alive. And to them, that meant there was still more to do. They pierced her skin with needles, burned her eyelids with cigarettes, forced her to sleep on a balcony, naked, in freezing December air. When she screamed too loud, they shoved scissors into her ears, until the world became quiet. Junko could no longer walk, no longer eat, no longer beg. But even when her vocal cords tore, her breath still pleaded. At one point, her captors thought she was dead. Panicked, they wrapped her in blankets. But she stirred. She was still alive, still there, still trying. They beat her again and again, not out of fear this time, but out of fury. Fury that she wouldn't die on cue. On day 30, they forced her to drink her own urine, fed her cockroaches, crushed her stomach with dumbbells. Her internal organs began to fail, but her heart still beat. They called her names, not even human, mocked her as she bled from every orifice. Her body was now unrecognizable, and yet, somehow, she still hoped. They found her one night, clutching a pen, trying to write, trying to leave a message. A goodbye? A name? No one ever found out. They took it from her and broke every finger. Outside that house, the world spun. School exams came and went. Holiday lights shimmered in store windows. People laughed, lived. But inside the house, Junko Furuta faded, not just in body, but in memory, until one day, she simply stopped moving. The boys were done, not remorseful, not shaken, just done. They wrapped her like waste, stuffed her in a drum, poured cold concrete over her, and laughed. They sealed it shut, left her soul to suffocate. But that wasn't the end, because something remained, something that doesn't die when the body does. And in time, that something came for them. When her body was finally discovered, there was no beauty left to bury. The concrete drum was pulled from a garbage dump in Koto, Tokyo, January 1989. Her corpse had no name, just trauma, just pain. But soon, the name Junko Furuta would echo through the nation. A ghost in the courtrooms, a scream in the headlines, a whisper in every parent's nightmare. The boys were caught, not by conscience, not by regret, but by accident. One of them, Hiroshi Miyano, bragged. He thought himself untouchable. But pride is a sharp blade, and it slipped. The police raided his home, found bloodstains, burnt floorboards, evidence. Then, the confession. Junko's body was pulled from concrete, frozen in agony, fingernails torn, bones broken, a soul too silent to scream. The world wept. But when justice came knocking, its voice was quiet. Hiroshi Miyano served just 20 years. He's a free man. So are the others. Even those who beat, raped, burned, mutilated. They walked out of court with sealed records, new names, new lives. And Junko? She never even got to turn 18. Her parents couldn't bury her in peace. They couldn't even recognize her face. The courtroom echoed not with justice, but with the sound of laughter, mocking, unrepentant. One of the boys even told her mother it was her fault. But stories like Junko's don't fade. They haunt. In Tokyo's quiet streets, in whispers passed between students, in late-night forums, her name rises again. Some say her spirit still lingers, in the house where it happened, in the dreams of her killers, in the guilt that never leaves. A few years after release, one of the boys was arrested again, for beating a man to death. Another vanished. Justice? Maybe not. But some ghosts find their own way. And Junko? She may have died alone, but she did not die forgotten. Her silence became a roar, a warning, a legacy, a curse on cruelty itself. Her story ends not in death, but in the eyes of every girl who refuses to be afraid.